Lights go up, the crowd's in a buzz. Hawk talk start from mighty thud. Voices sharp like a razor blade. Breaking news like a wild cascade. Tune in now, it's time to soar. Hawk talk brings us what you're here for. Bold predictions, call it how we see. We're the voice that sets you free. Host on fire, you can't deny. Hot take sharp with no alibi. Game analysis deep as night. Get ready for an epic ride. Tune in now, it's time to soar. Hawk talk brings us what you're here for. Bold predictions, call it how we see. We're the voice that sets you free. We call the plays before they happen. Feel the rush as the crowd is clapping. Stand tall with your team above. Hawk talk anthem, feel the love. Tune in now, it's time to soar. Hawk talk brings us what you're here for. Bold predictions, call it how we see. We're the voice that sets you free. Tune in now, it's time to soar. Hawk talk brings us what you're here for. Bold predictions, call it how we see. We're the voice that sets you free. We're the free. Set you free. We're the voice that sets you free.
It is October 1st, 2025, and we had a fantastic last day of September, opening day of the Major League Baseball Wild Card Playoff Series. We also had a Game 5 in the WNBA. Winner moves to the championship and loser goes home. You couldn't ask for anything better. It could not be better. Yesterday we had outstanding baseball games at 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and then an offensive explosion at 9 o'clock last night. But that is not where I want to begin today. I want to open up with the WNBA. I want to go back. I want to take you back to 2004. Actually, let's just go back to the year 2000. Okay. The WNBA was, at the time, comprised of 16 teams as well, Eastern and Western conferences. The the games themselves were not, they weren't bad. It was kind of the heyday for what they were doing. Now, I remember all these teams because as a kid, this is kind of what I grew up with. Back then, in the Eastern Conference, you had the New York Liberty, Cleveland Rockers, Orlando Miracle, Washington Mystics, Detroit Shock, Miami Soul, Indiana Fever, and the Charlotte Sting. In the Western Conference, it was the Sparks from Los Angeles, the Houston Comets, Sacramento Monarchs, Phoenix Mercury, Utah Stars, Minnesota Lynx, Portland Fire, and the Seattle Storm. The average attendance back then was 9,074 people as the average attendance. When you look at the games, it's a little bit different than today. And when you play out how the series worked, the schedule, and how everything kind of progressed on the way down, just a little bit differently than nowadays. Attendance really dropped in the mid 2010s. It was very, very bad. Very bad. The reality of everything is it had to bounce back. It really did have to bounce back. And last night showed how good the WNBA has gotten. The year 2000, the way that the year played out, the games averaged very, very low numbers. The points per game ranged from 77 to 57 through a 32-game season. The average points scored was 69 points a game. Move forward. That's what I'm going to do now. You move forward. The mid-2000s was when it was really bad. The mid-2010s saw the attendance really, really drop. And at that time, the average points had already started going up. 2014, the average points was 77, but they only had 12 teams in the league. When you move to 2020, you look down, and the average points were 78.7. Caitlin Clark comes into the league a couple years ago, and this year, with everything, the average points per game are now up to 81, almost 82 points a game. The worst team in the league is still scoring 76 points a game, but the best team in the league is scoring 86 points a game. So there is only a 10-point per game difference. And last night you had a team in the Indiana Fever with a bunch of people injured, going up against what was one of the hottest teams in the entire WNBA, the Las Vegas Aces. Game 5 in Las Vegas, and it was an outstanding game. There were step-back threes. There was beautiful fadeaway jump shots. There was rebounds, and a lot of them. There was aggression. It was good basketball. Very, very good basketball. They played outrageously hard. The Fever had been going back and forth. At half, they were down by 2. Third quarter, the Aces kind of had taken over control at that point. And it looked it looked pretty bleak. They went into that fourth quarter down by 8, and they completed the comeback. They outscored the Aces by 8 points in the fourth quarter, even with Kelsey Mitchell basically collapsing onto the floor in dehydration and cramps. She was down on the floor for a while. They actually brought the stretcher out. I never like seeing anybody collapse, and she collapsed on the floor. But the Fever hung tight. Aliyah Boston, outstanding at 16 rebounds, 11 points, but she fouled out early in overtime. The overtime period was competitive, but the Aces just started making three-pointer after three-pointer after three-pointer, and A'ja Wilson and Jackie Young combined for 67 points of the 107 points for the Aces. That is NBA level playing. So if you haven't watched the WNBA, the final score was 107-98. Game 5, championship berth on the line, and both teams left it on the floor. You can't ask for anything better. The WNBA is getting better and better. Dallas, Paige Buchers, they get an early draft pick again. They will be better next year. They're talking about expanding. I believe they need to. They need to expand. They need to continue growing this. The league is there. The revenue will be there. They have to take advantage of what's going on right now. Get in, get all these teams in, take advantage of the revenue sharing, start paying the players better. I'm not saying they're going to make NBA money. I don't get me into that conversation. They're never going to make that money, but pay them better. The season is good. The playoffs are great. Honestly, 8-team playoffs with 3-game series, 5-game series, and then the 7 for the finals. I love it. I absolutely love it. There is zero reason the WNBA will fail right now. Its popularity is growing. The players are so much better than they were back in 2005, back in 2000, back in 2015. They are better. The basketball is better. And I was talking to Big J last night. I was talking to my dad. It is a pure form of basketball. You don't see all the flopping. You don't see all the stupidity that we yell at our kids for doing when they're playing junior basketball. When we're telling them, play right. They do. The women still play right. Yeah. Are they tough? Do the refs miss a lot? Yes, but the refs are like ranked 4. Women's college basketball gets better refs than the WNBA. So what do you expect? Last night was an overtime game, 107-98, an 8-point comeback in the fourth quarter. Overtime taken over by step-back threes by Jackie Young. Outstanding shots. I mean, the quick release she has is amazing. And people want to complain about it, but it's the basketball we want. You want to watch pure basketball? Watch the WNBA. There is drama, there is acting in the NBA. It's half fake, half real. It's a bunch of trying to get fouls here and trying to get fouls here. Listen, it's not what's happening in the WNBA. I can watch the game and not be frustrated with how the players are playing. And I hope they expand. I hope they get back to 16 teams eventually. And I think it's great. And I hope they're able to pay their players better as we continue to move forward. That is what I'm hoping. But last night was an awesome game. With all the injuries, Kelsey Mitchell going down, Cunningham out, Caitlin Clark out. Super proud of the Fever with how they hung in there this year. They beat the number 3 seed in the playoffs. They took the number 2 seed to 5 games in the playoffs. I love it. I absolutely love it. So great job by them. All right. Let's move to Major League Baseball because it was wild. It was wild. Let's start right away. Let's start with the Tigers and the Guardians. This game ended up being 2-1. Both pitchers had lights out performances. In the first inning, there was an error that gave the Tigers a run, and it was a fielding error. Okay? That error proved very, very costly. In fact, there was another error on a catch that proved even more costly. Gavin Williams for the Guardians pitched 6 innings, allowed 5 hits, 2 runs were scored, but he did not allow an earned run. They were both off of errors. 1 walk, 8 strikeouts. Outstanding game. The problem is on the other side. Tariq Skubal, 7 2/3 innings pitched, 3 hits, 3 walks, 1 earned run, 14 strikeouts in 107 pitches. Masterclass at pitching in the playoffs. The final score was 2-1. The Guardians had 4 hits with 1 run. The Tigers had 5 hits, 2 runs. Cleveland had 2 errors. Detroit had 1. That is the margin of these playoff series. Don't believe me? Well, let's see. What happened at 3 o'clock? Oh, yeah. The Cubs and Padres. And what do you think the score of that game was? Well, let's go down the pitching. Nick Pivetta, 5 innings pitched, 3 hits allowed, 2 earned runs, both of them home runs, 2 solo home runs allowed. He had 9 strikeouts. Solid game. For the Cubs, Matt Boyd pitched 4 1/3, allowed 4 hits, 1 walk, only 2 strikeouts with an earned run. Really not sure why they pulled him as early as they did, unless he just really looked like he wasn't able to control everything he wanted to. Not really sure. But this game ended up being 3-1. The Cubs had 6 hits, which resulted in 3 runs, but they also had 1 error. The Padres had 4 hits, 1 run, no errors. 3-1, game number 1, National League Wild Card Series. And then you get to the rivalry of rivalries, the Red Sox and the Yankees. Alex Cora, the manager for the Yankees, said, all we have to do is get Max Fried out of the game, and then we will attack. And that is exactly what they did. Garrett Crochet retired 17 straight to finish his outing for the Red Sox. He pitched 7 2/3 innings, 4 hits, 1 earned run, 1 home run allowed, that was the earned run, 11 strikeouts in 117 pitches. He locked in after that first 2 innings and retired the rest. Beautifully done, painting the corners. It was gorgeous. Now, Max Fried, 6 1/3 innings, 4 hits, no earned runs, walked 3, struck out 6 in 102 pitches. But again, the Yankees bullpen, which has been questionable, allowed the Red Sox to come back. They're only down 1-0, but still come back. And the Red Sox got 2 runs in a gorgeous set of... It was a beautiful set of plays. Luke Weaver comes in, does not record an out, walks a player, allows 2 hits and 2 earned runs, and there it was. The Red Sox are up 2-1. And then David Bednar allowed another run later on in the top of the ninth. The Red Sox had 8 hits, resulting in 3 runs with no errors. The Yankees had 7 hits, resulting in 1 run, also no errors. But the Red Sox are now up in this series 1-0. And today, we'll see what happens. It's game 2 today. Then you get to the game that got out of hand really, really, really fast. The Dodgers and the Reds. Unfortunately, Hunter Greene was not on yesterday. It was not a good outing for him. He allowed 5 earned runs in the 3 innings that he pitched. The Dodgers scored 10 runs on 15 hits with no errors. But do not be mistaken. The Reds still scored 5 runs against that Dodger bullpen. Blake Snell allowed 2. Vasiev allowed 2. And Henrique allowed 1. It's not like the Dodgers shut them completely down. And I do believe the Reds are going to fight hard today. That Dodger bullpen worries a lot of people. It worries a lot of people. The Reds still had the bases loaded in the bottom or in the top of the 8th, and the Dodgers got out of the jam. It easily could have been closer than this. They were 1 hit away from only being up by 2. Like, this is, the Reds can play. The Dodgers they should be. They're better on paper. They should be better. The Dodgers should win this series. The Dodgers shouldn't even be in this series. They should have been number 1 in the National League. But now they're 3. And this is what they have to do. That's simple. But they do get the win 10-5. So what are we looking at for tonight? Here we go. So from everything that, hang on, let me get to today. That is yesterday. So today, these are the pitching matchups. For Detroit and Cleveland, you have Casey Miz taking the mound for Detroit against Tanner Bibby. Oh boy. You got Dylan Cease against Adam Kittredge between San Diego and Chicago. You have Bello versus Rodon in the Red Sox-Yankee matchup. And then you have Zach Littell, who was with Tampa Bay, traded to the Reds, against Yamamoto tonight. Now, Yamamoto has not been great this year. So tonight is another opportunity for the Reds. The Padres could be eliminated tonight. The Guardians could be eliminated. And the Yankees and Reds can be eliminated. I hope none of them are, because game 3s are always better. Elimination games are always better, where it's win or move on, lose or go home. We love those. So I'm hoping all of them the other team wins. Kind of. But it would be great. It would be great if we had 2 games tomorrow. Because it is already set. They are tomorrow. Because they're all at the home, the higher seeds stadium. So those are the matchups for today. So there we go. WNBA, Major League Baseball. There is a lot going on. And now we get to the NFL. The biggest news there is. Lamar Jackson. There's been nothing that's officially come out, but Vegas finally switched all the odds. They originally had the Texans as underdogs this weekend. They finally switched it. It looks like Cooper Rush is going to start, but they've been hush-hush on what's going on. But the bigger news is this. The Cleveland Browns are going to start Dylan Gabriel in London against the Minnesota Vikings. They are benching Joe Flacco. And remember, I said this. He is biding his time. Watson can come back in 2 weeks. If it's possible, He can run Gabriel for a few weeks. Shedeur is still the third string quarterback. Flacco is going to back up behind Gabriel. I don't know what to think of this. Gabriel is a really interesting situation here. Stefanski is good at play calling. He has Quinshon Judkins. Look for Flacco. He only signed a 1-year, $4 million deal. Look for Flacco to potentially be on the market. And if another quarterback gets injured, look for him to be traded for. I mean, I already think the Raiders are regretting signing Geno Smith. I really do. I think they're regretting it. But if another quarterback or two go down, the trade deadline will start creeping up, and these teams are going to make moves to stay relevant. The Raiders don't want to have a 3-14 year. They don't want to be 3-14 because of Geno Smith. Now, they won't complain either because then they're going to get one of the best quarterbacks to pair with Ashton Jeanty and what is a very solid defense, and well, they'll be able to move up from there. But we'll have to see what happens. Right now, there are a lot of question marks. Tyreek Hill says he's still going to play next year. Dillon Gabriel is now starting for the Cleveland Browns. Plenty of things going on. But let's move over and let's check this out for a second. I've got a couple different things. So number one, we're going to do our fantasy deep dive. So we're going to do our deep dive. But then for those of you that don't like the fantasy deep dive, I've got my report cards. My first quarter report card I have for every team. I've also got my ginger beer. Stuff is so darn good. It's also fizzy. So let's start with the deep dive. So let's start with our fantasy deep dive, and let's look at some of the numbers from this week in Thunder Sports. So this league, like I said, it's the official main league of the organization, Thunder Sports. I have Thunder Sports too. We've got, 15 leagues. So there's that. Here is what we're looking at right now. So this week, the best manager, which by the way, I had a question about how this works. The best manager is the one that picked their lineup most accurately with what their performance was. That is best manager. Worst manager is the one that picked wrong. Started the completely wrong players. That's the worst. Okay? So the best manager, I had the most accurate lineup this week. Only got 122.52 points. Skins, unfortunately, did not have his potential. He was below by a good, healthy 40-plus point margin. The biggest blowout of the week was Billy Bob, 125-75. The narrowest victory was 88-85 this week. Highest score, Slim had an outstanding week, 144 points. Skins had the lowest week at 72.3. Now, the overachiever, unfortunately, is the guy that played me. Big J had he had a lucky week. He had a lucky week, and it took luck for him to be able to beat me. Let's be very, very clear. He was actually my opponent, but congratulations to Big J. He did it right. He overachieved by 35%. His projection was 101. He scored 137. That jerk. So he knocked me from the undefeated ranks, and it's not that he bragged about it or anything. But anyway, lowest below expectations. Skins missed his projection by 34%. There's a reason that Big J beat me. Okay? There's a reason. He had this guy named Matt Stafford, who was the quarterback of the week at 37.4 points. Ashton Genty went off this week for Van Jess. Huge week, 37.5. Puka had 36. Tyler Warren, who Big J also has, had 18.3. Then Big J also had the kicker of the week with Jason Myers at 13 points. Then he also had the defense of the week, 23.5 points by the Detroit Lions. So, how do you overachieve? You end up having the quarterback, the tight end, the kicker, and the defense of the week on your team. And by golly, George, that's how you win a match. All right. So that's some of the points behind it. Let's look at the standings. I am no longer undefeated, but I am still first place in my division. I got an 11-point lead over JPG. We got 4 teams at 3-1, 2 at 1-3. So we got JPG second, Jay Always third. Balls is fourth. All of us are 3-1. Skins and Carl are sitting at 1-3. 33 Needs a Ring and Krusty are both 0-4. When you look at the AFC, they have got 4 teams that are 3-1 as well. Slim, TJ, Jake from State Farm, and Big J are all 3-1. Draven and Dab are both 2-2, with Ashton and 5 Pete currently 1-3. So we are through 4 weeks. And we've got trades that may start rolling around. And in fantasy, most trade deadlines are week 10. So we are currently looking at about 5 weeks until the trade deadline and how all that is going to play out. So that is some of the fantasy stuff. And I know I kind of ran through it this week, but that is because I wanted to get to this. So we got Hawks Locks. And hang on, something's not right. Oh, never mind. I know what's going on. So we have Hawks Locks that we got to go through today. But I wanted to go over this. So we're going to do my report card. So this is and I didn't do A plus, B plus, C plus, D plus. I didn't do all that. I did A, B, C, D, and I have 2 Fs. I do have 2 teams that have an F right now. So let's jump into it. So here we go. Looking at the teams that I give an A through the first 4 weeks of the season, the Buffalo Bills, Philadelphia Eagles, Seattle Seahawks, Detroit Lions, Indianapolis Colts, Pittsburgh Steelers, the Los Angeles Chargers, and the Buccaneers. Now, some of you may be wondering why the teams on the right are in this list. Well, very clearly, the Colts have overachieved. The Colts have absolutely overachieved. Daniel Jones has brought an excitement because they believe he will not be the reason they lose. Yes, he had 2 interceptions on Sunday. He's not the reason they lost. They lost because of Adonai Mitchell tackling on a hold, and then even worse, the fumble at the goal line, at the 1-yard line. That is why they lost. That is what happened. So the Colts have absolutely overachieved. They've beaten the Broncos. They played the Rams tough. They destroyed the Dolphins. They won the division game against the Titans. I can do nothing less than give them an A because they have come out, focused, and played a darn good game. First 4 weeks, I trust everything about what they're doing. I don't see a glaring weakness besides the linebackers on this team. Defensive line is good enough, not great, but the linebackers are definitely an issue, and the Rams exploited that. The Steelers, I can also do nothing else. I don't like them, but you know what? They're 3-1. They're leading the division. The rest of the teams in their division don't look good, and they could be heading towards the division title and only have to win 8 or 9 games. They're 3-1 right now, but their points scored and their points allowed, they're 2 points under what they've allowed. But they're 2-0. And I mean, the reality is they've got a good enough defense. Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback. If they could just get a running game, this could be a decent team. But as of right now, they're sitting number 1 in the division at 3-1. The Bengals don't have a quarterback. The Ravens currently don't have a quarterback. The Browns are starting a rookie. They're leading the division. They own it. Why wouldn't they be up top? So I got the Steelers, the Chargers. They beat the Chiefs. They beat the Raiders. They beat the Broncos. Yes, they lost to the Giants. But remember my rule. This is mine. This is my rule. 1 game a year, you get a stinker against a bad team. Now, the Giants, I believe, we're going to let the Giants game be that one, but I don't really believe it should be because they had the new quarterback starting. The offense changed. Nobody had seen Jackson Dart before. He was a mobile quarterback, so it was a fresh thing, and they only lost by 3. But injuries are mounting for the Chargers. But you can't go off of what's going to happen in the future. Through the first 4 weeks, the Chargers get an A. They have mastered the storm. They won 3 division games, and they are still currently sitting atop of the AFC West, 3-0 in the division currently. Now, on top of that, you have the Buccaneers. I am really impressed with what the Buccaneers have done, but they have a 0-point differential. They have scored 97. They have allowed 97. It is really odd. Their only losses come to Philadelphia. They beat Atlanta week 1. They beat the Jets. And honestly, injuries going forward could change this. But as of right now, they are absolutely worthy of an A. Absolutely worthy of an A grade. The Bills, Eagles, nobody's going to argue with. Seahawks, I love what they've done. Seahawks and the Lions are the exact same. Week number 1, struggled. New quarterback for the Seahawks, new coordinators for the Lions. Week number 1 was a struggle. They have looked consistently better since week 1, and the Thursday night game really impressed me with the Seahawks. Their defense, their fortitude, the control of which they have in the game was really impressive on the road in a Thursday night environment that Thursdays are hard. And I believe they're a really good team. I still believe they can challenge the Rams for the West. If the Rams lose a couple players, I believe they can win the West. That simple. So those are the teams that I currently give grades of an A. Now, report card grades B. These are the teams that I give a B. Chiefs, Broncos, Jaguars, Commanders, Patriots, Falcons, the Packers, and the Rams. And you may be wondering, hold it, why are the Rams 3-1 getting a B? Because it took a lot for the Colts to lose to them. They flummoxed away a game against Philadelphia. They didn't look sharp on the road against Tennessee, and they only scored 14 points against the Texans in week 1. They don't look like a team yet that is absolutely dominating. They don't look like a team that's like the Lions, where the Lions have rolled over teams and just destroyed them. That's not what the Rams have done. And the Rams had the Eagles exactly where they wanted them, and as an experienced group, let them back in the game. Offensively, they failed. That's why they get a B. The Chiefs actually moved because they beat the Ravens. The Chiefs moved from a C going into the weekend to a B because they got the win. They're 2-2. Their offense looks to get a little bit of something going. The defense is solid, and I like where they're at. The Broncos the same way. Broncos have that really tough loss against the Chargers. They have that really tough loss against the Colts. They should have beaten both teams. That's why they're sitting in this bracket. But they're 2-2 as well, and they're getting ready to move into a hard part of their schedule. They got the Eagles this week, and they can really show everybody they can play if they beat the Eagles this week. Saquon Barkley has not looked good. That's why I almost thought about putting the Eagles in B, but they're undefeated. You can't. You can't put an undefeated team in B class. You just can't do it. So I am very worried about the run game for the Eagles. The offensive line does not look as dominant. The Broncos have a legit shot this weekend because they've got players that can run with Hurts, and we'll see what happens. The Jaguars, I am pleasantly surprised with. I told you guys all offseason I didn't know what to do with the Jags. They have the number one takeaway defense in the league, 13 takeaways in 4 games. Absolutely outstanding. I love it. I love what they're doing. They're big, and they're getting their offense figured out. On the road in San Francisco, Lawrence didn't have an interception. The offense is looking better and better, and they've got a big test Monday night at home against the Chiefs. The Chiefs have holes. Just because it looked good against a Swiss cheese Ravens defense does not mean it's going to look good against a team that currently leads the league in takeaways. At 13, they had 9 all of last year. They've already got 13. Do not sleep on the Jaguars. I like what they're doing. They should have beaten Cincinnati. The defense played great, and the offense blew it away. They should be undefeated right now. Very clearly. They should be. The Commanders, I know they're 2-2. They've been without Jayden Daniels, and they're 1-1 without Jayden Daniels. And it's that simple. It's really that simple. Waiting for Daniels to come back. The team does not look completely inept with him gone. Okay? I do like how the team is built. The Falcons getting embarrassed definitely helped the Falcons beat the Commanders this past week, which is why the Falcons are at a B. If they would have lost, they'd be down at probably D. Wouldn't even have been C. It would have been at 1-3. They're at D. Like, that would have been a horrible start for the Falcons. But getting that big win over the Commanders was huge for them. Gives them a little bit of momentum going forward, and I like where the Falcons are at right now. Another team that has continually improved week after week is the Patriots. These guys are getting better and better. They just had a complete game with offense, defense, special teams, a Mike Vrabel played game. This team is going to be outrageously hard to beat in about 3 or 4 weeks. You will not want to play them. They will probably be at an A at the midseason report card because this team is ready to play. They're running with Drake May. They've got 3 running backs they use. Their punt and kick returns are outstanding. This is a big, big thing if you're a Patriots fan, and there is a lot of hope. All right, the most crowded grade there is C. That is the Texans, Bengals, Ravens, Niners, Bears, Vikings, Cardinals, Raiders, Giants, and Cowboys. Now, some may be wondering why the Raiders, the Bears, even the Niners, they may think, well, the Niners are 3-1. They look awful. They have the easiest schedule in the NFL, and I still don't think it's going to be easy enough. I don't. I don't think it's going to be easy enough. The Niners don't look like a team that are going to be able to really do a bunch going forward. They don't. I'm sorry. The Ravens have a Swiss cheese defense. I could have put them in D. I know I could have. I chose not to. Because they still scored 40 points against the Bills. They scored 20 against the Chiefs. They scored 24 against the Lions. And really, it's their defense that's the issue. So I'm going to give them a C, but I easily could have put them down at D. I fully understand that. The Bengals, I put at C because with Joe Burrow, they looked pretty good. To their credit, September, they did not go 0-4 or 1-3. They went 2-2. 2 games without Joe Burrow, back-to-back losses, Vikings and Broncos, kind of expected, unfortunately. But the reality is they were 2-0 with Joe Burrow, and I mean, I got to give the Bengals a C. I don't think this season's going to go well for them. I think it's going to go downhill really quick. But for the first quarter, you're 2-2, you get a C. The Texans, 1-3, I give a C because of who they've played. You don't play the Rams, the Buccaneers, and all of a sudden I'm forgetting what the fourth team is that they played. Hang on. Oh, and the division rival Jaguars. Remember, I said the Jags and Texans would split, so they did. They lost at Jacksonville, and I think they win in Houston. You've played 3 teams that currently all have a grand total record of 9-3. And you beat the team that is currently winless. Against the teams that are 9-3, you're 0-3. Against the team that's winless, you're 1-0. You've got a game this week against the Ravens. It's a big game. The Texans, though, I do believe are going to grow. The offensive line looked better against the Titans. Sometimes you just need that game with a brand new offensive line. You need that game where you can gel at home and kind of relax, win 26-0. They don't have Joe Mixon. The running game is not as dynamic without him. I do believe they need to start Woody Marks over Nick Chubb. I think Nick Chubb needs to be the change of pace, and Woody needs to start because he's quicker and more agile. The Vikings right now, I give 2-2 because they won a game with Carson Wentz over the Bengals. They lost a really bad game against Pittsburgh. They got smoked by the Falcons. And then they held out and they won week 1. So 2-2, I'll give them a C. But their quarterback play bothers the crap out of me. Whether it's Wentz or McCarthy, it bothers me. That defense is outstanding. It is really, really good. But it can't keep getting put back into a corner. Can't back this defense into a corner 10 times a game. Same thing for the Cardinals. The offense, Kyler Murray cannot stop turning it over. He's not a good leader. He is struggling with the leadership. They should have played better on Thursday. It is on him. He has got to do better. And I don't know if they can. I do not blame the coach, Gannon. I don't blame the coach. Kyler Murray is the quarterback. He is the leader. We know there's coach and then quarterback. We know they're basically right level. Coach is just a tad above as far as influence. The quarterback is very important, and Kyler Murray fails at what that quarterback level needs to be because the level needs to be here, and he is here. It's that simple. The Raiders have a Geno Smith problem. Leads the league in interceptions, but the defense plays so tough. The offense keeps playing hard. Colton Miller, the tackle, is now out, so going forward, this is going to be even more difficult for them. What moves they're going to make, I don't know, but that is where the Raiders are at right now. I got to give them a C because everybody besides Geno Smith is playing their hearts out. They lost 20-9 to the Chargers. They lost 25-24 because of a blocked field goal to the Bears. I mean, it's just they're playing as hard as they can, and they deserve credit for what they're doing. The Giants, same thing. The Giants, outstanding shootout against the Cowboys, ended up losing. They gave the Chiefs everything they could handle defensively for the first 3 quarters and just got worn down because Russell Wilson couldn't stop throwing to the other team. And then you beat the Chargers, game 1 of Jackson Dart playing. You absolutely smoked Justin Herbert. The defensive line is energized, and I do believe that they think Jackson Dart gives them the ability, so they believe if they get the ball back to Dart, they can get points. I fully believe that's what they are leaning on, and I believe in it, and I agree with them fully. The Cowboys, I know CeeDee Lamb is hurt. I understand that. Dak Prescott, they won the shootout game. They tied the second shootout game. And we're going to find out what they are this week against the Jets. This week against the Jets is going to be everything. In fact, this weekend against the Jets leads us into report card D. The Dolphins, Jets, Browns, and Panthers. Now, I know the Browns have a quarterback thing. I get it. The reality is they should have beat the Bengals week number 1. They did beat the Packers, but they have had 2 really, really bad losses with the Lions and Ravens, which is why Dillon Gabriel is now starting. The Browns' defense is not necessarily a problem, but it's on the field so often they have no time to rest. The Panthers, Bryce Young has gone backwards. Take out the 30-0 game over the Falcons, and Bryce Young has looked mostly bad, not good. It's not been great, and they just got smoked by the Patriots 42-6. So it doesn't really look good for them. It really doesn't. The Dolphins, I don't believe in them. The Jets are so sloppy. The penalties, it frustrates the heck out of Aaron Glenn. They should have 3 wins, and instead are sitting there with 0-4. They are. They could be. I could have put them F, but I can't because they've got players that are doing really good. Wilson is playing good. Fields isn't playing bad. Brees Hall's playing good. But the penalties on the offensive line, the defensive pass interference and defensive holding penalties are killing this team. They got to clean up the penalties. And if they clean up the penalties, they will not be below the Dolphins in the standings. The Dolphins, I believe, are 100% done. Tyreek Hill is out. I don't believe Waddle and Waller will be able to control everything with the Dolphins. They're a bad defensive team. They're an even worse offensive line. I don't believe in the Dolphins at all. And then the 2 teams, yes, that I'm giving an F, unfortunately, are the Saints and the Titans. The Titans have a rookie quarterback and have had a horrendous game plan the entire year. It drives me nuts what has happened. It drives me nuts watching them because it is not a game plan that is setting the team up for success. The team has players on defense that should be able to step up and play. L'Jarius Sneed, they paid money. Jeffrey Simmons. The defense isn't horrible, but gosh darn it, that offense, the offensive line, the game plan needs to be a lot better. They need to get back to going under center. They need to get back to being under center and going through all the motions of a normal NFL team. Roll out play action. That's what the Rams, the Colts, the Lions, the Bills, it's what the Dolphins beat the Jets on, for gosh sakes. Why don't people get back under center? I will never understand. Ever. Never understand. The Saints, they're just a bad team. They've got the game against the Giants this week. They're actually favored. It may be the only win they get all year. If they win, it's not good. It is just not good. So there are my records for right now. Those are my records after the first quarter of the season after week number 4. All right. Hardest thing of this week, Hawks locks. Let's do this and let's close this out on a gorgeous Wednesday opening day in October. So what am I going to lock in this week? Well, I am going to shock some people because I am going to lock in the Colts spread at 6.5. Colts spread at 6.5. I am going to take it over the Raiders. Geno Smith has done too much to even remotely believe in him. I think Genty could have a pretty decent day, but I think Geno Smith, if they get down, is going to have to throw, and I believe he'll throw 3 or 4 interceptions. It's not been good, and he has been a outrageously bad problem. So, therefore, I am absolutely going to go with locking in the Colts over 6.5 points against the Raiders. Another one that I want to lock in that I really, really like this week. I'm going to lock in the Titans. And I know I've done this multiple times, and I hate what the Titans have done, but this is more about who they're playing. They are playing on the road at the Arizona Cardinals. Now, why would I pick a road team? Well, they're 7.5-point underdogs. Kyler Murray hasn't looked great. Tony Pollard, I do believe, will be able to run on the Cardinal defense. The Cardinals did have a lot of holes in the secondary. Cam Ward can run around. Screen passes can get this team. And I do believe that even if they win 27-20, and if it's a backdoor cover at the end of the fourth quarter where they're up 27-13 and the Titans score, I just think the Titans are going to cover the 7.5. I really do. I think the Titans cover the 7.5. And that is really exactly where I'm leaning right now. That is just, it looks that way. It looks how it's going to, that's how I think it's going to play out. So I'm going to go with the Cardinals not being able to cover. I got the Titans covering as the underdog at 7.5. And then the final one. This one, I wrote it down yesterday. It's It switched. The Texans are a 1.5 favorite over the Ravens. This is going to be one of my picks as well, so spoiler alert. And it's not necessarily the spread that I was expecting. They were 2.5-point underdogs for this game yesterday before the Cooper Rush stuff came out. I did get a bet in at the underdog, so hallelujah. That's why you want to sometimes get your bets in early before the injury news comes out. But Texans are only a 1.5 favorite. That defense is Swiss cheese. I do not trust the Ravens defense, even at home. Look what the Lions did to them. If the Texans play a little bit of ground and pound, C.J. Stroud, I think, will have play action opportunities. The secondary is bad. 7 injuries in that set on that defense, and number 1 run stopper out for the year. I'm going Texans. So my locks for this week are the Colts at -6.5 over the Raiders, Titans to cover the 7.5 spread as the underdog, and then the Texans to do much better than 1.5 over the Ravens. And those are Hawks locks for the week. Oh, all right. Let's see. Any new news pop up before we roll this out? Let's see. Nope. Nothing new. All right. Well, this is interesting. We got some stories this weekend. We got some games. Well, let's run down the schedule this weekend before we close it out. Let's close it out this way. So Rams and Niners are tomorrow night. I'll give you that pick tomorrow. Vikings and Browns are in London. Raiders versus Colts. Giants are at the Saints. Cowboys are at the Jets. The Broncos head to Philadelphia for a big matchup. Dolphins are at the Panthers. Texans are at Baltimore. The Titans are at the Cardinals. Buccaneers are at Seahawks. That is a big game. Do not sleep on that game. That is a really big game. Keep an eye out for it. The Lions are at the Bengals. The Commanders are at the Chargers. We're awaiting word on Jaden Daniel. Sunday Night Football should be electric as it is the Patriots and the Bills. That is the Patriots' big division game. This is that first one that I said they would lose, and I said look out for the second one in New England. I want to see how they perform Sunday night against the Bills, and then Monday Night Football has the Chiefs at the Jaguars, and that is where we are at right now. All right, guys, that is it. That is it for me. 23-hour break until tomorrow. We'll do some previews. We'll look at some college stuff. We got some big matchups this weekend. Again, top 25 matchups. And we will jump into it. Great day. Absolutely great day. Great show. Opened up with WNBA, Major League Baseball, and finished it off with football. Exactly how you should do it. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. All right, guys. As always, I deeply appreciate each and every one of you. Make sure to like and subscribe to the podcast and then share it with a friend. I appreciate it, and thank you all for watching. And, man, make today a good day. It's October 1st. Start October out on the right foot. Get out ahead of it. Get out ahead of it. Fall is coming. Fall is coming. Get out ahead of it and enjoy October 1st. Make it the best Wednesday that you can. I will see you tomorrow for another episode. Until then, for Sports Talk with Hawk, I am Hawk. And on this gorgeous first day of October, I'm out.